In the ancient world, where myths and legends intertwine with the fabric of human history, one story stands out as both intriguing and mysterious: the tale of the Watchers. These angels, often seen as divine beings, took a fateful turn when they decided to descend from their heavenly realms and engage directly with humanity. Their arrival on Earth marked a turning point that forever changed the course of human history. The Watchers, as described in the Book of Enoch, are no ordinary angels. They were sent to watch over mankind, but instead, they became the architects of profound transformation. If you're interested in this topic and want to learn more, make sure to hit the like button, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. That way, you won't miss out on future videos that will definitely surprise you. At the beginning of time, when the world was still in its infancy, a group of angels was entrusted with the responsibility of observing the human race. These beings, known as the Watchers, were created to guide and protect the early civilizations of Earth. The divine purpose was clear: to provide humanity with wisdom, teachings, and protection. However, the Watchers were not meant to intervene in the lives of humans directly. They were, as the name suggests, to observe and offer subtle guidance, without disturbing the natural order of things. But, as often happens with stories of gods and angels, something went wrong. The Watchers, having witnessed the struggles and desires of humans, began to grow increasingly fond of them. It wasn't just their mission to watch anymore. They began to feel compassion, perhaps even envy, for the humans they were observing. It's in this growing attachment that the first crack in the divine order appeared. The Book of Enoch paints a vivid picture of the Watchers' descent from the heavens. These angels, once celestial beings of immense power and wisdom, broke their sacred vows when they descended to Earth. They weren't just observers anymore, they became active participants in the human experience. This decision to forsake their divine duties was not without consequences. According to the ancient text, the Watchers did not merely live among humans. They introduced forbidden knowledge to them, knowledge that was meant only for the divine. The Watchers taught humanity the arts of magic, the secrets of the heavens, astrology, metallurgy, and even the art of warfare. This knowledge, while remarkable in its scope, came at a great price. Humans, once innocent and unaware of the complexities of the universe, were now exposed to the powerful forces of creation and destruction. They were no longer ignorant of the celestial world, and in many ways, they became its equal. In their attempt to elevate humanity, the Watchers unknowingly condemned it to a turbulent fate. The more the Watchers imparted, the more humanity grew to desire even more knowledge. It was a hunger that could not be satisfied, and the world slowly began to spiral into chaos. What exactly did the Watchers teach humanity? The Book of Enoch gives us a glimpse into the vast array of knowledge they imparted. Among the most notable teachings was the art of sorcery and magic. The Watchers shared with humanity the secrets of the stars, the complex workings of astrology that allowed humans to predict the movements of the planets and the fate of men. Alongside this, they introduced the knowledge of healing and harmful plants, teaching humans how to use them for both remedies and curses. This marked the first known understanding of medicinal herbs and their potent effects. The Watchers also taught humanity the craft of metallurgy, the forging of weapons and tools from iron and other metals. This was not only a technical advancement, but also a pivotal shift in the balance of power. With these new abilities, humanity could wage war on an unprecedented scale. The introduction of weapons led to the rise of violent conflict, turning once peaceful civilizations into battlegrounds. But the most devastating knowledge imparted by the Watchers was the knowledge of the heavens. The angels revealed the secrets of the stars, the cycles of the moon, and the mysterious workings of the celestial bodies. This revelation brought with it a greater understanding of time and the universe, but it also led to the birth of dangerous ideas. The idea that humanity could control the forces of nature, that they could manipulate the universe itself. One of the most striking aspects of the Watchers' descent was their interaction with human women. According to the Book of Enoch, the Watchers not only shared knowledge with humanity, but also took human wives. From these unions, the Nephilim were born, a race of giants who walked the earth, far surpassing ordinary humans in strength and intellect. The Nephilim were the physical manifestation of the forbidden union between celestial beings and mortals. The appearance of the Nephilim forever changed the landscape of Earth. Their immense size and power struck fear into the hearts of humans. They were a living testament to the transgression of the Watchers. But they were also a reminder of the dangers of mixing the divine with the mortal. These giants, born of forbidden knowledge and unnatural unions, would soon become the harbingers of doom for many civilizations. The Watchers' actions were not without consequence. The heavens, it seems, did not look kindly on their disobedience. As the Book of Enoch tells us, God saw the chaos that the Watchers had unleashed upon the earth. The Great Flood, a judgment meant to cleanse the earth, was no mere natural disaster. It was a divine retribution for the Watchers' transgressions. The flood was sent to rid the earth of the Nephilim and to restore order to a world that had fallen into turmoil. But the judgment was not limited to the Nephilim alone. The Watchers themselves were punished for their role in the events that unfolded. They were bound in chains and cast into the abyss, awaiting their final judgment. The punishment of the Watchers serves as a stark reminder of the consequences of defying divine will, and it is a story that has been passed down through generations, a story of temptation, knowledge, and the fall of the divine. The story of the Watchers is one of the most captivating and enigmatic tales in the ancient texts. Their fall from grace, from celestial beings entrusted with a divine mission to rebellious figures who defied the heavens, is a tale that still echoes through the ages. It serves as both a warning and a testament to the complexities of divine authority, temptation, and the consequences of crossing boundaries set by higher powers. In the beginning, the Watchers were part of the divine order, a group of powerful angels chosen to watch over and guide humanity. Their role was not to intervene directly in the affairs of men, but rather to provide gentle guidance from above. They were the eyes of heaven, observing the progress of humankind and offering their wisdom from a distance. In many ways, they represented the ideal balance between divine authority and human freedom. But the very nature of their role, so close yet so distant, began to weigh on them. They were given free will, and with it came a growing sense of autonomy. While the Watchers were originally sent to guide humanity without interfering, they found themselves increasingly drawn to the people they were meant to watch. They began to wonder, what would happen if they gave humanity more direct knowledge? Could they, in their wisdom, help humanity evolve faster and achieve greatness? It was the deepening connection between the Watchers and humanity that led to their ultimate downfall. The angels began to question the very purpose of their mission. Why were they confined to their celestial duties, observing from above without fully engaging? Why not descend to earth and walk among the people they were tasked with guiding? This desire for involvement, though seemingly noble, was born out of a fundamental misunderstanding of the divine order. The Watchers, in their longing to help, began to believe that their intervention could be the key to unlocking a new age of enlightenment for humankind. However, they were not prepared for the consequences of such an action. The temptation to break free from their divine constraints grew stronger with each passing day. Eventually, the Watchers could no longer resist the pull. The choice was made, and the angels descended to earth, leaving behind their heavenly post to walk among humans. This decision would set off a chain of events that would forever alter the course of history. As the Watchers descended to earth, their presence was immediately felt. These beings of light, immense power, and divine wisdom were no longer hidden from humanity. They walked among men, offering their guidance and knowledge freely. But as their interactions with humans grew more intimate, so too did the impact of their teachings. The Watchers introduced humanity to a wealth of forbidden knowledge, knowledge that was never meant to be shared. They taught the arts of magic and sorcery, revealing the hidden powers of the natural world. They shared with humanity the secrets of the stars, how to read the heavens and harness celestial forces. They also imparted the craft of metallurgy, teaching humans how to forge weapons of war and tools of immense power. Each lesson, each revelation, brought humanity closer to an understanding of the world that had once been reserved for the gods. But this knowledge, while powerful, was not without its dangers. As the Watchers shared their wisdom, they unknowingly unleashed forces beyond their control. The more they revealed, the greater the desire for more knowledge became. Humanity began to hunger for forbidden truths, a craving that could never be fully satisfied. The Watchers had believed they were helping humankind reach its potential, but in reality, they were sowing the seeds of chaos. The knowledge they shared with humanity didn't just empower them, it also made them aware of their own limitations. And in their quest for more power, humans began to turn on each other. The once peaceful societies were now consumed by greed, conflict, and a thirst for control. The consequences of the Watchers' actions did not go unnoticed in the heavens. As humanity began to spiral into chaos, the divine realm looked on with increasing concern. The Watchers, once revered for their wisdom, had broken the sacred order by crossing the boundaries set by God. Their punishment was inevitable. The Book of Enoch describes how the Almighty, seeing the destruction wrought by the Watchers, decided to take drastic action. The angels who had once been sent to guide humanity were now to be bound in chains and cast into the abyss. Their fate was sealed. The punishment was not only for the Watchers themselves, but for the very knowledge they had imparted to humanity. The flood, as described in the ancient texts, was the ultimate divine retribution, a cleansing of the earth that would wipe away the consequences of the Watchers' actions. The flood was meant to rid the earth of the Nephilim, the giants born from the union of the Watchers and human women, and to restore balance to the world. As the Watchers were imprisoned in the depths, their actions served as a stark reminder of the dangers of defying the natural order. The fall of the Watchers marked the beginning of a new chapter in the history of humankind, a chapter that would forever be shaped by the lessons learned from their rebellion. The fall of the Watchers and their punishment did not signal the end of their influence. Even in their imprisonment, their legacy lived on. The forbidden knowledge they shared with humanity had already taken root, and its effects could not be undone. The Nephilim, though wiped out by the flood, left a lasting impact on the world, and the knowledge of the stars and the heavens continued to shape human civilization for centuries to come. The story of the Watchers serves as a timeless reminder of the consequences of overstepping one's bounds and the dangers of seeking forbidden knowledge. It is a story of temptation, rebellion, and redemption, a story that continues to captivate the imagination of those who seek to understand the mysterious forces that shape the world. In the wake of the Watchers' descent to Earth, a profound and mysterious event took place. The forbidden union between the angels and human women resulted in the birth of the Nephilim, giants whose very existence defied the natural order. These beings were not merely the offspring of divine beings and mortals. They were a symbol of the irreversible consequences of the Watchers' actions, a living testament to the intertwining of the celestial and earthly realms. The Book of Enoch describes the Nephilim as the children born from the unions of the Watchers and human women. These beings were unlike anything the world had ever seen before. Towering over ordinary men, the Nephilim possessed immense strength, intelligence, and abilities that far surpassed those of any human. They were the product of a forbidden union, a blending of the divine and the mortal, and their very existence carried the weight of the transgressions of the Watchers. As the Watchers shared their knowledge with humanity, they also formed relationships with human women, an act that went against the natural order. These unions were seen as a violation of divine law, and the resulting offspring, the Nephilim, became a symbol of the consequences of this transgression. They were giants, both physically and metaphorically, towering over the earth in ways that seemed to mock the natural laws set by the divine. The Nephilim were described as being of extraordinary size, with some accounts suggesting that they were several times larger than ordinary humans. Their strength was unmatched, and they were capable of performing feats that seemed to defy logic. Their appearance was said to be awe-inspiring, their features both otherworldly and intimidating. With their giant stature and incredible abilities, the Nephilim were seen as a new and dangerous force on Earth. But the Nephilim were not just physically powerful, they also inherited the wisdom and knowledge imparted to their fathers, the Watchers. This combination of strength and intellect made the Nephilim a force to be reckoned with. They were not mere brutes, but beings of great intelligence, capable of understanding complex concepts and wielding the forbidden knowledge that had been passed down to them. The Nephilim's wisdom, however, came at a cost. The knowledge they possessed was not meant for mortals, and it often led to a dangerous hunger for more. As their power grew, so did their desire for control. They became rulers, leaders, and warriors, imposing their will on the world and causing fear and destruction wherever they went. As the Nephilim walked the earth, their presence brought both awe and terror. These giants were not simply passive beings who lived alongside humanity. They were active participants in the world, shaping it according to their desires. The Book of Enoch describes how the Nephilim took control of the earth, using their strength and knowledge to subjugate humans. They became rulers, kings, and warriors, with the power to command armies and reshape the very fabric of civilization. The Nephilim's dominance was not limited to the physical realm. With their knowledge of magic, astrology, and warfare, they were able to manipulate the natural world to their advantage. They used their wisdom to control the elements, predict the movements of the stars, and even influence the minds of those around them. This combination of power and knowledge made them nearly unstoppable, and the world seemed to fall under their rule. But the Nephilim's reign was not without its consequences. As their power grew, so did their cruelty. The giants were described as ruthless and violent, using their strength to dominate and oppress the weaker human populations. They were not content with their physical prowess alone. They sought to control the world around them, to bend it to their will. Their actions led to widespread suffering, and the earth became a place of chaos and destruction. The people of Earth, once innocent and free, now lived in fear of the Nephilim. The giants ruled with an iron fist, imposing their will on the land and its inhabitants. Humanity was no longer in control of its own destiny. The Nephilim had taken that power for themselves. The reign of the Nephilim was not destined to last forever. The Book of Enoch speaks of a divine reckoning, a judgment that was to come upon the earth as a result of the actions of the Watchers and their offspring. The rise of the Nephilim, with their power and arrogance, brought about the need for divine intervention. The world had become too corrupt, and the time had come for the earth to be cleansed. God, seeing the destruction wrought by the Nephilim and their fathers, decided to send a great flood to wipe away the giants and restore balance to the earth. The flood was not just a natural disaster, it was a divine judgment, a cleansing of the earth that would rid it of the corruption and violence that the Nephilim had brought about. It was a judgment against the Watchers, their forbidden knowledge, and the giants they had fathered. The flood marked the end of the Nephilim's reign. The giants were drowned in the waters, their power and knowledge lost to the depths of the earth. The world, once again, began to rebuild. The flood, though catastrophic, was seen as a necessary event, a way to purify the earth and restore the natural order. Although the Nephilim were destroyed in the flood, their legacy lived on. The story of their existence has been passed down through generations, a cautionary tale about the dangers of forbidden knowledge and the consequences of crossing divine boundaries. The Nephilim were not just the giants of the past. They were a symbol of the dangers of human ambition, of the desire for power and control over the forces of the universe. The Nephilim story continues to captivate the imagination of people today. Their legacy can be found in countless myths, legends, and modern interpretations, where they are often depicted as symbols of human hubris and the dangers of tampering with the natural order. Though the giants themselves may no longer walk the earth, their influence continues to resonate in the stories and teachings passed down through the ages. The arrival of the Watchers on Earth did not just mark the descent of celestial beings, it heralded the introduction of forbidden knowledge that would shape the course of human history in profound and irreversible ways. This knowledge, once hidden in the heavens, was now shared with humanity. While it was a gift in many ways, it also came with a terrible curse, a dual-edged sword that promised both enlightenment and destruction. The Watchers, in their compassion for humanity, began to reveal the secrets of the universe. They shared with humans the workings of the heavens, the movement of the stars, the mysteries of the moon and the sun. They taught them the art of astrology, enabling people to read the stars and predict the future. This knowledge gave humans a new understanding of the world around them. For the first time, humanity had a glimpse into the celestial order, the natural rhythms that governed the universe. But the Watchers didn't stop there. They imparted wisdom that was far more complex and potentially dangerous. They taught the humans how to use the powers of nature, how to manipulate the forces of the earth. They revealed the secrets of magic and sorcery, showing humanity how to harness the energies that flowed through the world. This knowledge, once held only by the divine, was now in the hands of mortals. The teachings of the Watchers promised to elevate humanity. They gave people the tools to control their destiny, to shape their environment, and to understand the universe in ways that were previously unimaginable. It was a gift that would propel civilization forward, unlocking potential that had remained dormant for millennia. One of the most powerful and dangerous gifts the Watchers gave to humanity was the knowledge of metallurgy. They taught people how to forge weapons, how to make tools of war that would forever alter the balance of power. With this new knowledge, humanity was able to craft tools that could both build and destroy, a double-edged sword that would come to define the future. The creation of weapons marked the beginning of a new era in human history. The once peaceful civilizations were now armed with the means to fight, conquer, and destroy. The arts of warfare spread quickly, and what had once been a world of cooperation and mutual survival became a world of conflict and competition. The Watchers had provided humanity with the knowledge to defend themselves, but they had also given them the power to destroy everything they had built. As humanity's capacity for violence grew, so did the turmoil within the world. Wars broke out, cities were razed, and empires crumbled under the weight of the knowledge that had been bestowed upon them. The Watchers, in their desire to uplift humanity, had inadvertently given them the tools for their own self-destruction. While the gift of knowledge had its benefits, it also carried with it a heavy curse. The more the Watchers revealed, the more humanity began to thirst for power. The forbidden knowledge they had shared was not just an intellectual pursuit, it was a powerful force that began to corrupt the hearts and minds of those who sought it. The curse of knowledge is a theme that has echoed throughout history. The more humans learned about the world around them, the more they desired control over it. What was once a gift of enlightenment became a burden, one that weighed heavily on the soul. As people gained the ability to understand the secrets of the universe, they also became aware of their own limitations. The knowledge of the stars, the magic, the metallurgy, it was all too much to bear. The Watchers had not foreseen the destructive consequences of their actions. In their desire to help humanity, they had unknowingly opened a door that could not be closed. The more people learned, the more they began to challenge the natural order of things. They sought to control life and death, to bend the forces of nature to their will. But in doing so, they invited chaos and ruin into their world. One of the most direct consequences of the knowledge imparted by the Watchers was the birth of the Nephilim, the giants who walked the earth. These beings were a physical manifestation of the forbidden union between divine beings and humans, a direct result of the Watchers' teachings. Their existence, though awe-inspiring, was a sign of the dangers of crossing boundaries that were never meant to be crossed. The Nephilim were not just the result of a physical union, they were also a reflection of the knowledge that had been passed down to humanity. The giants, born of both celestial and mortal blood, represented the unintended consequences of the Watchers' decision to share their wisdom. The Nephilim were a living symbol of the dangers of meddling with forces beyond human comprehension. Their strength, intelligence, and size made them formidable, but they were also the harbingers of destruction. As the Nephilim grew in power, they began to dominate the earth, using the knowledge they had inherited from their celestial fathers to subjugate humanity. The world, once ruled by peace and harmony, was now in the grip of the giants, who had been born from the forbidden knowledge of the Watchers. The curse of the knowledge they had received was now fully realized. The consequences of the Watchers' actions, and the knowledge they had imparted, could no longer be ignored. The earth had become a place of chaos, where humanity and the Nephilim were locked in a battle for survival. The flood, as described in the Book of Enoch, was the divine response to the turmoil that had been unleashed upon the earth. The flood was not just a natural disaster, it was a divine cleansing, a way to rid the earth of the corruption and destruction that had been caused by the Watchers' teachings. It was a way to remove the Nephilim and restore balance to the world. The flood washed away the giants, but it also washed away the knowledge that had led to their creation. It was a purging of the earth, a way to start anew. While the flood destroyed much, it also provided an opportunity for humanity to begin again. The knowledge of the Watchers, though still present in the world, was now hidden once more, buried beneath the waters. The curse of knowledge had been temporarily lifted, and humanity was given a second chance. The story of the Watchers and their descent to Earth is one of both profound knowledge and inevitable consequences. As the Watchers defied their divine mandate, their actions not only transformed humanity but also angered the Almighty. Their decision to impart forbidden knowledge and break divine boundaries led to a divine reckoning, a judgment that would change the course of history. The punishment of the Watchers serves as a solemn reminder of the cost of overstepping one's bounds and defying divine will. The Watchers, once revered as divine beings entrusted with the protection of humanity, had strayed far from their original purpose. They were sent to observe, to guide, and to protect, yet their desire to intervene in human affairs led them to break sacred laws. Their descent to Earth and their union with human women was not only an act of defiance, but also an act of profound disobedience. For the Almighty, this act was an affront to the natural order of the universe. The balance between the celestial and mortal realms had been disturbed. The Watchers' teachings, which had once promised to uplift humanity, had instead sown chaos and corruption. The earth was now teeming with the knowledge of forbidden arts. The Nephilim, giants born of these unions, walked the earth, and violence and strife spread across the land. Humanity, once innocent, was now in possession of knowledge that could bring both enlightenment and destruction. The divine response to these transgressions was swift and severe. The heavens could no longer tolerate the presence of these rebellious beings. The Watchers, once celestial guardians, were now viewed as a threat to the divine order. The Almighty, seeing the turmoil they had caused, decided that judgment was necessary. It was time to restore balance to the universe. The Book of Enoch recounts the judgment that was passed upon the Watchers. God, in his anger, sent archangels to confront the rebellious angels. The archangels, Michael, Raphael, Gabriel, and Uriel, were tasked with carrying out the divine punishment. They were sent to the Watchers, who had descended to earth, and they were to bind them in chains, imprisoning them in the abyss. The punishment of the Watchers was not merely a physical imprisonment. It was a spiritual one as well. The angels, who had once enjoyed the freedom of the heavens, were now bound by divine chains, unable to move or act. They were confined to a prison deep within the earth, where they would remain until the end of time. The abyss in which they were imprisoned was a place of darkness and despair, a fitting punishment for those who had dared to defy the divine order. The divine punishment was not only for the Watchers themselves, but also for the knowledge they had shared with humanity. The gift of forbidden wisdom that had been passed down to men had to be taken away. The flood, which would soon follow, was part of this divine cleansing. The flood was a way to purify the earth, to wash away the corruption and the consequences of the Watchers' actions. The abyss, where the Watchers were bound, is described as a dark and desolate place. The Watchers were not merely imprisoned physically, they were cut off from all connection to the divine. They could no longer fulfill their original mission, no longer guide or protect humanity. They were cast into a void, isolated from the celestial realm and stripped of their power. The abyss was not just a prison, but a symbol of the punishment that awaited all who defied divine law. The Watchers, who had once held knowledge that was forbidden to mankind, were now forced to endure an eternity of imprisonment, as a reminder of the price of their rebellion. They were bound in chains, unable to interfere with the world they had once sought to influence. The punishment of the Watchers was a warning, a message that the divine order cannot be broken without consequence. The Watchers had sought to impart forbidden knowledge, to intervene in the affairs of men, but they had crossed a line that was never meant to be crossed. In the end, their actions led to their downfall, and the punishment they received was a reflection of the gravity of their transgressions. While the Watchers were imprisoned in the abyss, their legacy lived on. The knowledge they had shared with humanity could not be erased. The flood had wiped away much of the corruption that the Watchers had brought to earth, but the consequences of their actions had already taken root in human society. The Nephilim, though drowned in the flood, were still remembered, and their story was passed down through the generations. The knowledge of the stars, the magic, the metallurgy, all the wisdom the Watchers had given to humanity, continued to influence the world long after their punishment. The flood, though it had purged the earth, had not removed the desire for knowledge that the Watchers had ignited in humanity. The legacy of the Watchers was not one of peace or enlightenment, it was one of ambition, rebellion, and the consequences of seeking power beyond human limits. The Watchers' punishment was a lesson, a reminder that the pursuit of forbidden knowledge comes with a price. It is a story that has echoed through history, one that continues to captivate those who seek to understand the mysteries of the universe and the dangers of tampering with the divine. Though the Watchers were bound in chains and cast into the abyss as a result of their transgressions, their legacy has not been forgotten. The story of their descent, their teachings, and the consequences of their actions has echoed through the ages, influencing not only ancient cultures but also shaping the way we view knowledge, power, and the supernatural. The Watchers left an indelible mark on history, one that continues to resonate in modern times. The knowledge that the Watchers shared with humanity, the secrets of the heavens, the art of magic, astrology, and metallurgy, did not disappear with their punishment. While the Watchers themselves were imprisoned, the knowledge they imparted continued to shape human civilization. The arts and sciences they introduced flourished, often in secret, passed down through generations and preserved in ancient texts, symbols, and rituals. One of the most enduring aspects of the Watchers' legacy is the concept of forbidden knowledge. The idea that there are secrets hidden from humanity, knowledge that is too powerful or too dangerous for mortals, has continued to captivate the human imagination. From secret societies and occult traditions to the rise of modern science and technology, humanity's pursuit of hidden knowledge has been a defining feature of our history. The Watchers' teachings laid the foundation for many of these pursuits, and their story continues to serve as a cautionary tale about the dangers of seeking knowledge without fully understanding its consequences. While the Nephilim were destroyed in the flood, their legacy has not been erased. These giants, born from the union of angels and humans, have remained a prominent feature in myths, legends, and religious texts. They are often depicted as symbols of human hubris, representing the consequences of tampering with divine power. In modern times, the story of the Nephilim has been embraced in various ways. They are featured in literature, movies, and television shows, often portrayed as mysterious, powerful beings who are either heroes or villains, depending on the narrative. Their image has evolved from ancient myth to modern pop culture, but the core idea remains the same. The Nephilim are beings of great power who represent the consequences of defying natural and divine laws. Their legacy can also be seen in contemporary discussions about the intersection of humanity and the supernatural. From debates about genetic engineering and artificial intelligence to the exploration of extraterrestrial life, the story of the Nephilim speaks to the human desire to transcend our limitations and reach beyond the boundaries of our existence. The question of whether humanity should pursue knowledge that could alter the natural order, much like the Watchers did, remains as relevant today as it was in ancient times. The influence of the Watchers also extends into the realm of secret societies and occult traditions. Throughout history, many groups have claimed to possess ancient, hidden knowledge, often tracing their teachings back to the Watchers or similar divine beings. These societies, whether real or mythologized, have been obsessed with the idea of unlocking forbidden wisdom, much like the Watchers did with humanity. In the modern world, various occult practices, esoteric traditions, and mystical philosophies have continued to explore the themes introduced by the Watchers. The pursuit of hidden knowledge, whether through alchemy, astrology, or other mystical practices, remains a central focus for those who believe in the existence of secrets that can elevate human consciousness or grant access to supernatural powers. Some believe that the Watchers' teachings were not entirely evil, but rather a path to enlightenment that was misunderstood or misused. This idea has fueled movements that seek to recover and reclaim ancient wisdom. In these contexts, the Watchers are sometimes seen as misunderstood heroes, their actions driven by a desire to help humanity reach its full potential. However, the darker side of this legacy, the destructive consequences of their actions, still looms large in the minds of those who explore these hidden traditions. As humanity continues its search for answers to the mysteries of the universe, the story of the Watchers remains relevant. The Watchers' desire to reveal hidden truths and their willingness to challenge divine authority speaks to the ongoing human quest for understanding. Whether through science, religion, or philosophy, humans continue to seek knowledge that transcends the ordinary, pushing the boundaries of what is known and exploring the unknown. In modern times, this quest for knowledge is often framed within the context of scientific exploration, from the discovery of quantum mechanics to the search for extraterrestrial life. The Watcher's story serves as both a warning and a source of inspiration for those who seek to understand the universe. It reminds us that the pursuit of knowledge can bring both enlightenment and destruction, and that some truths may be too powerful or dangerous for humanity to handle. As we continue to explore the unknown, the legacy of the Watchers reminds us that knowledge, in all its forms, is a powerful tool. It can lead to progress and understanding, but it can also bring chaos and destruction if wielded recklessly. The story of the Watchers is not just an ancient myth, it is a timeless cautionary tale about the power of knowledge and the responsibility that comes with it.